Welcome to our third and final section of notes on population. Again, we're trying to shorten up and break up the notes instead of having one 30, 35, 40-minute section. We're going to break it into approximately 3, 10, 12-minute sections. So overall, it should be a little bit shorter. Otherwise, it probably would take, probably not 30 minutes, but it probably would have taken about 40 minutes, maybe even 50 minutes. We might have had to go into a different section of class, or we might have had to put it over 2 days. So I'm going to go a little bit fast through these notes. If you have any questions, ask me in class. That's the beauty of video. You can always stop, rewind, stop, rewind, stop, rewind, and sometimes I'll ask you to pause the video so that you can think about certain questions and be able to answer those in class. Now, if you remember, our last video talked about population density. So we're going to start out with this slide here, and this shows some of the most densely populated areas in the world. And these are people where there are places where there's a lot of people living in a very small area. So if you don't like crowds, you probably would not want to live in these areas. So you can see some interesting ones like Vatican City. Vatican City is not very small. It only has 812 people, but it doesn't have a very large area. It's got a lot of people living in a very, very small area. The entire Vatican City is not even a square mile. That's why they say there's so many people living per square mile, because it's less than a square mile. So the way the math works, there's a lot of people living per square mile, if you're confused about that. This is a great cartoon. Again, this is one of those times I'll say, why don't you pause the video, take a look at this cartoon, and try and interpret it. And then when I ask you about it in class, you can share your interpretation of this cartoon. So where is the population growing the fastest? Well, believe it or not, most of the people that are being born in less developed countries. A lot of people say, well, don't we have better technology? Don't we have better nourishment? Don't we have better, hospitals? So why aren't we growing faster? Well, it seems that most of the population growth that takes place in developed countries has slowed down. Where you live in less developed countries, their population tends to still be high. And there's a lot of theories as to why. Some people are saying, well, a lot of times they still need a lot of people to work on the farms. A lot of these places don't have Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid like we do here in the United States. So a lot of these families will have lots of children, because when mom and pop retire, they don't go to the old folks home like I know my kids are going to send me. They go and they live with their kids. So the more kids they have, the more opportunities they have for someone watching them when they're older. And the death rate is not necessarily, the death rate is higher in less developed countries. So they're going to have lots of kids, because a lot of times they expect to have some of their children die at an early age. So where are the 5 largest cities in the world? Well, you got Tokyo, you got Guangzhou, China. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I looked it up and I thought it was Guangzhou. And you have Seoul, South Korea. You have Shanghai, China. And you have Delhi, India. Again, these numbers, I'm not sure if it's the metropolitan area. The numbers go from year to year, and I try and track the data. And I try and figure out, are they talking about the proper city, or are they talking about the entire metropolitan area? But these numbers are in millions. And this is from 2010 data. So it's hard to get current up-to-date data. And I don't think it's 2013 this year, and I don't think I updated this exact slide from last year. So if you want to look online and get updated numbers for me and share them with me, you can. Just go to a really good site, like a UN site, a government site, where they're going to have accurate numbers. So this world map shows countries by fertility rate. In other words, this is when the average family, you go to purple, where are we? Right here. You go to purple, the average families are going to have 7 to 8 children. But you go to this light blue, it's 0 to 1 children. So you get here in the United States, the average family has 2 to 3 kids. Where you go to places like Canada, Canada looks like it's got this color here. So on average, they have 0 to 1 children. And you go to the opposite extreme, where you go to the dark purples. You got places in here where they're actually a lot more populous. They have large families. So growth rate for various states. Again, if you want to pause this video and take a look, you see that some growth rates are very, very high. Idaho's 28.5%. Nevada, look at this. Nevada has been taken off, 66.3%, where Wisconsin's, are an average 9.6%. Now, do all countries grow at the same rate? No, they do not. This country right here, and we're going to take a look at these in class. We're going to do some activities with population pyramids. But this right here, this is a telltale symbol for a population that's growing. Right here, where it almost looks like a pop bottle here, a soda bottle. But for the most part, it's pretty steady growth. Where you have ones that are inverted like this, where it comes here, this shows you that it's actually a declining population growth. So this is pretty steady. This one's declining. So when we look at global medium age, the average person in the United States is between 35 and 40. So sorry kids, most of you are well below that. But if you look at these colors here, 14 to 20, if you lived in certain places in Africa, and there's a few over in Asia as well, you would be the median age. You would be the average age, or the more common age. I don't want to say the average age. But you go to other countries where they're 40 plus. These are typically places where the population is declining and getting lower. So United States population pyramid for 1950, you can see in the 1950s, as you went up, population steadily declines. And that makes sense because as you get older, there's more chances that you're going to be dying. And it was pretty steady. But if we look at 2010, you notice it's changed. If I go back, you got that pyramid shape, but now it almost seems like it's going pretty straight up. And this tells you that the population in the United States is holding pretty steady. And here, 2050, it's going to be even more steady. So here's a population pyramid for Wisconsin. And again, Wisconsin looks a lot like the United States. It almost looks like a fat soda bottle here where it comes out. Sorry, the line's not that straight where it comes out and bulge here. But for the most part, it's holding pretty steady. Now, this generation right here, this is your baby boomer generation that's going to be retiring soon that everybody's so worried about. So how does the United States population affect the rest of the world? Well, it's interesting. The United States, we are responsible for about 25% of the world's emissions of carbon dioxide. And we pump out about 21 times more global greenhouse gases than, say, a typical person in India. So we do pollute a lot, even though we only have about 5% of the world's population. Now, Americans, we constitute less than, again, 5% of the world's population, but we consume about 25% of the world's energy, including about 25% of the fossil fuels. So we use more than our fair share here in this country. And one of the big debates is this fair to the rest of the world? And what's going to happen when the rest of the world wants their fair share? And we're starting to see that already with higher gasoline prices and countries like China that have a booming economy. So we also create the most pollution in the world. Now this, I'm going to caution you about this a little bit. This is actually a few years old, and I've actually heard that China has surpassed the United States. And I've been trying to do some research, trying to find out more about it. So I'll still use this for now, but I've been hearing reports that China has surpassed the United States now in total carbon dioxide emissions. So I'll have to wait and see, and check back with the video next year, and maybe it'll be changed. Now, this is an interesting fact. On average, one American, we consume as much energy as 2 people from Germany, 3 people from Japan, 7 from Mexico, 7 from Iraq, 12 from Colombia, 17 from China, 127 from Asia, or Haiti, 29 people from India, 83 people from Vietnam, 121 from Bangladesh. This is very interesting. If we would go to Ethiopia, we'd have to take 395 Ethiopians. And if we took those 395 Ethiopians, they use combined as much energy as you and I. Or just you. It's not you and I combined, 2 people. It's just you or I. So we do use a lot of energy compared to other people from around the world. Now, what about waste? We got done with the unit on waste management. This is interesting. By the time you reach the age of 82, you will have produced nearly 60 tons of garbage. Okay, so we consume a lot of material. And this is interesting. We talked about in the United States, we produce an average 4.5 pounds of garbage a day. You go to places like Paris, they produce an average of 2 pounds a day. In places like India, Kolkata, they produce approximately 1 pound per day. Now, some of you are saying, well, if I weighed all my garbage, I don't produce 4 pounds. Well, that's an average. So even when you buy products, you go to the grocery store, you buy things, all the things that are used, all the waste that's used to make the products that you buy, that's averaged into yours as well. Natural resources. You can see here that industrialized countries, we account for about 20% of the world's population, but yet we consume 86% of the world's aluminum, 81% of its paper, 80% of its iron and steel, and 76% of its timber. Again, is this fair to the rest of the world? And according to the United States Bureau of Transit Statistics, we have approximately 250 million registered vehicles here in the United States. Of these, 54% were cars, while 40% were SUVs. So we have a tremendous amount of vehicles here on our planet consuming a lot of resources. And these vehicles emit exhaust fumes that contribute to acid deposition and potentially to global warming as well. So here's a cartoon. Again, pause the video, take a look at this. I've showed it in other videos or other units just because it's worth showing again. And if I ask you in class, please offer your opinion on what this cartoon is trying to say. And as always, thanks for the notes, and we'll see you on the flip side, and ask questions if you have them. Thanks. Bye.